All right, let's talk about one of Ghana's most complex historical figures, Lieutenant General E.K. Kotoka. I mean, his name is literally stamped on the gateway to the nation. But his legacy? It's a total puzzle. You ask one person, he's a national hero. You ask another, he's a traitor.
I mean, really think about that for a second. If you've ever flown into Accra, you land at Kotoka International Airport. So how does a country, a democratic one, end up naming its main international airport after the guy who led a military coup to overthrow its very first elected leader? It's a huge contradiction, and it gets right to the heart of modern Ghanaian history.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this whole controversy, we have to rewind. We've got to look at the man before the coup. Because you see, long before he was ever a political figure, Emmanuel Kotoka was, by all accounts, a really, really respected and decorated soldier.
So, here's the quick rundown. He was born back in 1926, joins the military in 47, but his career really, and I mean really, takes off in the early 1960s. He serves as a UN peacekeeper in the Congo, which was an incredibly dangerous mission. In fact, it was so dangerous that when he got back, he was awarded the Ghana Service Order for exceptional bravery. So let's be clear, this wasn't just some random soldier. This guy was a bona fide, decorated national hero.
And that incredible career, that hero status, well, that's what makes the next chapter so shocking. Because this celebrated soldier was about to do something that would change the course of Ghana's history forever.
This is the date, the one that splits his entire legacy right down the middle, February 24th, 1966. On that day, the military seized control of Ghana.
So what happened? Well, Ghana's first president, the legendary Pan-Africanist Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, was overthrown. And get this, he was out of the country on a state visit to China when it happened. Now, Kotoka wasn't just some guy along for the ride. No. He was one of the main architects of the whole thing. And with Nkrumah out, Kotoka shot right to the top, becoming a leader in the new military government, called the National Liberation Council. He was basically put in charge of the entire armed forces.
But if you think that's where the story settles down, you'd be wrong. His time at the very top was shockingly short, and it would end just as violently as it all began.
418 days. That's it. Just 418 days. That's how long he was in power, from the coup to his own death. That number alone just tells you everything you need to know about how incredibly volatile and uncertain things were in Ghana at that time.
So how did it happen? Well, his end came during a pretty famous event called Operation Guitar Boy. It was actually a counter-coup attempt led by junior officers from inside his own military. Now, the coup itself failed to take over the government, but they did succeed in one thing. They captured and killed Lieutenant General Kotoka.
And that violent end, well, it brings us right back to where we started, to that central paradox. Because his actions, from the coup to his death, created this deep, deep divide in how Ghanaians remember him. A split that, honestly, is still there today.
So let's break down the two sides of the coin here. On one hand, you have his supporters. To them, Kotoka is a liberator, plain and simple. They argue that he saved Ghana from President Nkrumah, who they saw as becoming more and more authoritarian. They point to things like the Preventive Detention Act, which, let the government imprison people without a trial, and the country's move toward being a one-party state. But then, you have the other side. To them, Kotoka is a traitor. They say he completely derailed Ghana's young democracy and destroyed Nkrumah's powerful Pan-African vision for the entire continent.
And look, this isn't just some dusty historical debate people have in classrooms. One side of this argument is, well, it's literally set in stone. Just 2 years after he was killed back in 1969, the country's biggest international airport was renamed in his honor, and there's still a statue of him standing right at the entrance today. It's about as permanent and official an endorsement of the Liberator story as you can get.
But even with all those official honors, the debate is nowhere near settled. This quote really says it all. Decades have passed, and his name still completely polarizes people. It continues to spark these intense conversations about Ghana's history, about democracy, and about what it means to be Ghanaian.
And that really leaves us with a much bigger question, one that goes way beyond just Ghana. When you have a figure who is seen as both a savior and a saboteur, a hero and a traitor, how is a nation supposed to remember them? And maybe more importantly, what does it say about a country when its main gateway to the world is named after its greatest paradox?